Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 2A News with Craig DeLuz. I am your host, Craig DeLuz, and we are here at NRA annual meeting and exhibits in Houston, Texas. Having a good time, meeting old friends, meeting new friends, and this particular interview is going to be interesting because I'm meeting a new friend who's doing some work with some old friends, fighting for our fundamental right to keep and bear arms in national parks. Now, you know that I did a lot of work with the Firearms Policy Coalition, and this gentleman is part of a lawsuit, or not part of a lawsuit, he's the main plaintiff in a lawsuit that is going to help us be able to exercise our rights in national parks. Please welcome to the program, Mr. Gary Zimmerman.
Hello, thank you.
Gary, it is a pleasure to have you, sir. So do me a favor, tell me a little bit about how this lawsuit came to be and exactly what the lawsuit is about.
Well, me and my wife, we love to travel a lot, and we hit national parks. I even have a national park lifetime pass because we love to travel. And the one thing we always hate to do is when you go to national parks, of course, you have to go into a federal building to get your permits, to get your camping site, pay entrance fees, among many other things. And you have to leave your firearm in your car. Now, as we all know, the number one place where we have firearms stolen is from our vehicles. This is straight from the FBI. Right. So I contacted the FPC in regards to a case, as well as Will Bergstrom, who is one of the attorneys on this case, and said, hey, we need to file a lawsuit against the national parks that on the same law as we filed for the post offices, which is the USC section 930A, which is the same one for the post office. But in our case, we also filed on what they call a national park rule that applies to all of the national parks. And that is section 36 CFR section 1.5, which causes which allows the administrator of each national park to choose inside their park additional areas that you can't carry. So last summer, me and my wife, we went to Kentucky, went to the national park, Mammoth Caves. And as we already knew, we couldn't carry in the federal buildings. But what you can't do is you can't carry on your cave tours inside a cave.
Wow. Okay.
So it goes beyond just the federal buildings. And one of the other things I thought about is people who want to backpack that 2,500 miles of the Appalachian Trail. And if you're backpacking that, you don't have a car. And as we all know, you need a firearm on the Appalachian Trail because there's a lot of assaults and robberies. Plus you got wild animals during that 2,500 miles in the mountains. And if you need to go into a federal building to purchase supplies, renew your permits, do anything else that you need to do, where are you going to put your firearm? Right. A backpacker has no car. So that's why we're filing this. And many other national parks around the country have additional bans in various areas beyond the federal buildings. So we're challenging both those sections so that we will be able to carry and not have to store a firearm in the car, or if you're a backpacker, you'll still be able to go into a federal building to take care of your business that is required by the government to get your permits and stuff. So that's why we're doing it. It needs to be done. We need to start getting rid of all these gun-free zones because, as we all know, gun-free zones aren't gun-free except to those who are law-abiding. Because criminals will carry a gun wherever they want to. No, you are 100% correct. Let me ask you, so where's the lawsuit at right now? The lawsuit just was filed on March 27th. So right now we are waiting for the DOJ under Pam Bondi. Of course, we know she's no longer there. So whoever's going to be in charge, and Trump finally appoints the final person, not the temporary guy, then they'll file their response. And of course, by federal law, they have 60 days from the day we file to file that answer to our complaint. So this is a brand new case.
If the Trump administration is true to their word, they're probably going to wind up settling and changing the policy. If the Trump administration is true to their word, I believe that they will be.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
But you have to start somewhere.
Yes.
Because if we try to do it through legislation, there's too many Democrats in our Senate that would put a stop to that, because in our federal Senate, you can do a filibuster, which would require 60 votes.
Mm-hmm.
And to change this law legislatively, it's going to be a hard road.
Right. Oh no, you're 100% correct. It's getting anything done right now in this Congress is going to be very, very tough, especially if it supports the Second Amendment. What's I think going to be important, I think though, is this is going to be part of like what a lot of people have been focused on is making sure that, because the administration is it's good that they're going after local municipalities that are violating our rights, but the policies that are the federal policies are the things that they can most easily change. And it's nice to see that. I think this is something that should be, we're talking low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. We had the nice advantage that, our Secretary of War, Hegseth,
right,
just recently changed the policy on military bases to
right,
allow certain areas of military bases to allow the military there to carry their personal firearms,
right,
like in their
right,
vehicles. So yes, the administration is making advances for our Second Amendment rights,
right,
but sometimes it still takes a lawsuit to do so. And the more people we can get behind this and are willing to become litigants in a case, the better off we are. And I felt like I needed to step up and do more than just complain and raise my fist and go, we need to change this. I'm going to step up and do something about it.
right. Well, what's funny is, and it's, having worked with FPC, I know it's not very easy to find a plaintiff. They're selective in terms of the plaintiffs and the cases that they select. So that this is a quality case if FPC and if the Second Amendment Foundation is behind it. How can folks who are watching, how can they support it? Because, these cases, I know individually it costs a lot of money to pay these lawyers, right? So I know it takes resources. So how do people support this case?
They support this by becoming members of the Second Amendment Foundation, as well as the Firearms Policy Coalition. If you can afford it, make donations, because it's all about resources, and sadly, it takes money. The average firearms case to go to make it all the way to the Supreme Court, on average, costs about $1 million. If you think back to 2022, when we had the Bruin case, and it went to the Supreme Court and they won, it cost them $1 million to process that case. The case that's sitting in front of the Supreme Court now, Duncan versus Bondi, on our ammunition, that's cost them over $900,000 already. So it takes money, it takes your donations, it takes you joining these organizations. There are advantages. Right. Because the post office case, for example, you can carry in a post office, but only if you're a Firearms Policy Coalition member, right, or a member of the Second Amendment Foundation. Right. And the same thing goes here. When we win in district court, it's only going to be available probably for the Firearms Policy Coalition members and Second Amendment Foundation members. So join the Second Amendment Foundation, join the Firearms Policy Coalition, because that's how you can take advantage of those new rights when we win them in court.
Excellent. Well, sir, thank you so very much. I appreciate you stepping up. It's not easy to put your name out there and fight for the rights. A lot of people don't realize you catch a lot of grief, you get a lot of scrutiny, but we need people. We need people willing to step up. We need people willing to stand out there and make their voices heard on our right to keep and bear arms. So thank you so very much, and looking forward to a swift victory. Hopefully,
Let's hope so.
Yeah, in this particular case. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, that's it for this episode of 2A News with Craig DeLuz. We will be back later today with more interviews with folks from NRA 2026 here in Houston, Texas. Y'all take care, and we will see y'all real soon.